Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of MCU Reviews. It's reviews, right?
Yes.
Okay, I always say review, and Tyler's like, reviews. I'm your host, Zach Hendricks, along with your other host.
Oh, yes, I'm your host, Tyler Babb. Hi.
Hi. That was the first time I said I'm your host, and I instantly felt bad about it. I'm like, is this going to make it seem like I'm the only host? But,
The only host.
yeah, man. This episode was
guys.
wild.
This episode was the best episode by far. They're going to keep getting better.
I was going to say the non-spoiler section is going to be so short because it's literally just, I agree, the absolute best episode by far. And I'm curious, like, I can't see this being topped, so I'm going to be excited when and if it does. You said you think they're going to keep getting better?
Oh, yeah. I think my prediction is that we also, potentially there's a 10th episode.
Yes, we do have that secret episode.
I think that episode could be wild. And I'm pretty sure the 9th episode is going to be bonkers. So, because, we've discussed, they're spending a lot of money. But, no, the plot thickens, as they would say.
I guess
in this episode.
I would just ask you before we get to the spoilers, which again, we're going to get to those real quick, guys. But before we get to the spoiler section, I think the easiest way to rank this right now is out of the Marvel movies. Because this is the only Marvel TV show right now. And before you comment, Daredevil, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they have announced that those are not canon. Like, that is a straight-up real announcement. They are not set in the mainland MCU. You can view it as a parallel universe, but as far as Disney and Marvel are concerned, the people who are writing these shows, WandaVision is currently the only MCU show ever at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, how do you compare it to the movies? Like, how would you rank it? Like, is it in the top 10? I know it's short, so we have to take that into consideration. Like, but if this whole episode was a movie, where would it fall on your list? And what would be directly above it, and what would be directly under it? I think that is a good way to go about this ranking.
Oh my goodness, it's a really tough question. I don't even have an answer for that one. It's man, I don't know. That's tough. I don't know how to answer that question. You kind of sprung that on me, and I'm not sure.
Well, I will say, so there's about 25 Marvel properties.
Yes, which is why it's hard.
Where in that range do you think it would be? Bottom 5, bottom 10, the middle, top 10, top 5?
I don't know if it's in the top 10. It might be number 11 of the top 10. It's close. It's in the upper middle portion.
Very nice.
Of the movie, or of the list, for sure, for me.
I know personally I'd have to put it, and I have a very specific reason for this too, but I would have to put it, I can't say top 5 just because I'm not going to go through and try and rate them off the back of my hand right now and think okay, where is Iron Man fall? Where is Winter Soldier? Where's Civil War? So I'm going to say I have it a little higher than you. I have it in my top 10.
Okay.
For the simple reason that there was a scene in this episode that there was, to me, I think it was the heaviest, most emotional moment of the whole MCU thus far.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, yep.
And I'm taking into account the snap.
Mm-hmm.
So, for that reason, I gotta say top 10 without actually organizing everything. But yeah, guys, this man,
this was wild. It's what I really enjoy about these episodes is the plot of each episode by itself, individually, and kind of as a whole, because they spread it out. They do it so well where the plot itself is pretty straightforward and pretty simple, you know? And
Yeah.
specifically with each episode, like, the goal of Pietro and the kids is to, you know, it's a Halloween episode.
Oh, are we jumping into spoilers now?
No, I don't think
okay.
so.
Just
Their goal is to get as much candy. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the beginning, and then there's other things that happen. But and then Vision has his own goal. I won't talk about that. But then and Wanda, it's interesting how Wanda's really reactionary in this episode. You know?
Yeah.
She's reacting to a lot, as opposed to kind of almost like episode 2. You know, episode 2, she was reacting to a lot of stuff around her as well. So
Yeah, instead of where like for the rest of the show so far, and spoilers are fair game in the non-spoiler section for the previous episodes. We haven't actually said that, but that should be established at this point. I just want to say that out loud. But yeah, I'd say like she has been the driving force of just about every single episode for the most part. Like, you bring up a really good point with her being more reactionary. Like, she has, you know, we have Monica straight up say, it's Wanda. Wanda's in control. Like, at the end of episode, she says that at the end of 3, right?
And it's basically a misdirect, or at least that's how the episode ends. So it's a misdirect to the audience because doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, and it's
as
like,
the lighting changes.
yeah, sorry. I looked at the TV. I was like, ooh, we not as flattered as normal. And I was like, oh, I don't have the regular. Yeah, there you go. You look much cooler.
But yeah, no, I think, and it's, we'll go into spoilers like almost probably right now, but like this episode shifted, in terms of whose episode it was, you know, I think.
Yes.
We take a turn.
Yes, that is a real good point.
And yeah, I'm very curious to talk about that. And some stuff happens with Sword. We get, we push it a little bit further there.
They're doing some cool stuff. So, with that, this episode, clearly thumbs up from me.
Oh yeah, this is the best episode by far.
And I think it is time to delve into the category of spoilers. The spoiler ban from the beginning half of this is now the beginning few minutes of this is now lifted. Man, I'm gonna give you like 5 more seconds, and then we're gonna start dropping these spoilers.
Drop a like on the video.
Yes, before you leave, if you're leaving for the spoilers, feel free to drop a like. It just helps get more eyes on the video and helps the channel grow.
Thank you.
With that said, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time, people who are leaving for the spoiler, to avoid the spoilers. To those of you who are still here, oh my goodness, man.
This episode was such a delight. First off,
can we talk about the commercial first?
I was going to mention that intro. I really loved that intro.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably my favorite intro, or like, the bumper where the title is.
That's probably
my favorite one.
That's probably how we should do these things. We should start with the 2 things that have the least to do with the plot would be, at least as of right now, would be the direct plot of the episode would be the title, the opening sequence. All that really does is show us the decade, and the commercials in the middle.
Yeah.
So, if you're down, I'd love to start with those 2. So, what'd you like about the title?
It was very Malcolm in the Middle-y, and
I thought this whole episode had the Malcolm in the Middle vibe, and I loved it.
For sure.
It was so, man, so good.
I don't know, I liked it, seeing it from the perspective of the kids, having the kids come in, and obviously we saw in the other episodes, but for the children, it'll be interesting to see where they go in the rest of the series, because, and I thought, their development is great, and I feel like we're just scratching.
It's amazing.
We're just scratching the surface with those characters too, because I mean these guys are going to be in the MCU for a long time.
For how short they've been here too, like
Exactly.
they were babies. You know what I mean? Like they were babies a couple episodes ago, and then they were little kids, and we didn't get that much with them at age 10. We got the dog thing, you know.
Right.
But like that was it, and that was just like kids like wanting to play with a dog. Like it was kids wanting to have a dog, and their dog ran away. But that stuff was more about Wanda and Vision still. You know, like they were regular kids, I guess is my point, minus the aging thing. It was just like, okay, can you tell me about the personalities of Billy and Tommy? No, they're kids. Where now, just like one episode later,
Yeah.
they like,
And specifically like one scene.
yeah,
That
they
one-
have distinct personalities.
Yeah, that one scene where Billy's the one that's got Wanda's powers, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that right there shows you kind of where Billy's at in terms of maturity. And I wonder how that's going to affect, because he can you know, like, they already know that, you know, they're like, oh, Mom, you know, you can bring things back from the dead. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how he feels about, once Billy discovers more of what Wanda's doing, it'll be interesting to see their dynamic and see if he's down with it or not.
Quick tidbit too. This is going to be some new information for you, Tyler. But so me and Tyler have been discussing that these episodes, when they come on, because we watched them at 2 a.m, right when they drop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were streaming Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury yesterday, and then it was like, all right, time to go watch our WandaVision so we can record this thing later. Which, by the way, we don't just do MCU reviews, we don't just do movie content, we do video game content as well. I stream Ring Fit and a lot of Smash Bros, and Tyler is playing more games with me recently. Yesterday was the first day, but there's going to be a lot more of that. So if you are not yet subscribed and any of that sounds good to you, feel free to subscribe. And also, if you are subscribed but you're not in the Discord, feel free to join the Discord. It's linked in the description below. If you are watching the premiere, Stream Elements is sharing it in the chat over there. But the Discord connects you more directly to us. You can ask us questions about WandaVision. You can, like, for us to answer on next week's MCU review, you can point things out to us that we might have, you know, missed and discuss it with us, and we'll bring those things up in future podcasts.
If you got any theories, you can throw them in there. We can talk about it.
But also, if you are looking for people to game with, we have a lot of Smash Bros. Players on there. And I don't know who else owns a PS4 or PS5 or Xbox, but the Discord is where it's at. We've gotten about somewhere between 40 and 50 people in the last month alone. And it's a super healthy community and super thriving. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, feel free to join the Discord. But back to what I was saying to you, Tyler. So a little bit of new information here. These episodes, when they drop, they don't have a title. And then the title will just be episode 1, right. Episode 2, episode 6.
Mm-hmm. And when we watched it, it was episode 6.
It was episode 6. So I just pulled it up on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have a title for this episode. This episode is All New Halloween Spooktacular.
Nice.
Yeah. So I want to drop that in to set the environment of this episode a little more. I think the titles, you know,
well, I think
definitely will play into things.
I think you should explain. Let's talk about Pietro.
Okay.
Let's dive into him.
So, and normally I say I summarize the plot really quick, and then it is long. There's 2 main parts of this plot, and each one of them is about a sentence or 2. So, Pietro, Wanda, and the kids are doing Halloween stuff. Pietro, they like trick-or-treating. Pietro is a bad influence. The kids get their powers. And then the other thing that's going on in this episode is Vision is trying to figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
and at one point he tries to escape Westview. We'll get back to that in a minute. But to answer Tyler's question, not question, but what you told me to explain. So I'm gonna tell you straight up right now, guys. Pietro, that's not Pietro.
Nope.
That's Mephisto.
Mm-hmm.
That is Mephisto. So the episode does the Malcolm in the Middle cuts where the kids talk to the camera, which I thought was super cool. Especially, it's a really good exposition tool, you know, because
yes, it is a great way to get that across for sure.
And it's like, unlike a regular sitcom exposition, while this is like a sitcom episode because Wanda is editing it and cutting it, it's also like yo, she's affecting this world in a weird way, so like we accept that exposition more. But Wanda and Vision, since the last episode ended, so since Pietro showed up and Wanda confronted Vision, they're not really getting along. They're putting on a show, which is funny because they're literally putting on a show in a show that's being put on by Disney. So many shows being put on. They're putting on a show for the kids, it looks like. Vision doesn't want to upset Wanda. So, like, he doesn't want to argue with her, I should say. I don't think he cares if he upsets her. But they have like these moments of, oh yes, darling, this and that, blah blah blah. There was like, he comes down in his classic comic costume, just like Wanda. They both are wearing their comic costumes, which is amazing.
Yes.
And, you know, there's a little moment between them. It was a cute moment where she basically says, or he said, one of them mentions that he's dressed like a luchador, and the other one starts speaking a little Spanish to him, like in like a flirty way, and then the first one's like, "Ooh, what in the world?" You know what I mean? Like, it was just a cute couple moment that would totally happen in real life, but they still have like that on the surface, but then there's just this tension, and Vision's like, "I'm gonna lie to you and say I'm part of I'm doing neighborhood watch stuff," when really I'm investigating. And Wanda doesn't want that to happen. But Pietro puts a wedge between them, and he straight up says, "Isn't it my role to come in here and be the brother-in-law and be the father figure to these kids?"
I was gonna say, yeah. Once Vision leaves, he basically says, "Oh, they need a father figure. Well, I can step up in that role."
Yeah, and Vision's not even gone yet. She's trying to get Vision to stay, and he kind of pushes him out the door. He says, it's the brother-in-law's job to be it's the brother's job to be the father figure when the brother-in-law has to go somewhere. You're fine, Vision, get out of here. So that already, he's dropping the father figure really quick. What do we know about Mephisto? Mephisto was technically the father to these kids.
In the comics, the kids are made up of pieces of his soul. So.
And we know Vision straight up said how, like, when Wanda was pregnant. So, how? You know? Mephisto.
So
that's the answer.
So when we fast forward to them actually trick-or-treating, some stuff happens that are, I think, very, 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 very big red flags.
A ton of big red flags.
As almost everything that he does when they're trick-or-treating is a red flag, but yeah.
Yeah, and he encourages them to steal everyone's candy.
Yep.
And on top of that, too, so there's this moment where, like, Herb's like, "What in the world? Everyone's candy's missing. What in the world? All the jack-o'-lanterns just got stomped on, or crushed, or whatever, or destroyed. What in the world? All this." And then, like, they know that that's the kids. And Pietro. And the kids don't have their powers at this point. I also want to point out, jack-o'-lantern's purpose, like the whole reason jack-o'-lanterns exist, is to keep away evil spirits. So I don't think that was just a little line. Like, I think that was a subtle nod to, like, this dude wants to destroy anything that's going to keep away evil spirits because he is one. And the kids are being absolute little monsters with him, and he calls them demon spawn.
Yep.
So once again,
Mm-hmm.
he's Mephisto.
Yep.
And Quicksilver might have the hair that goes back when he runs and stuff. Like, that might be how he looks. But that's not how either of the Quicksilvers have looked in the MCU or Fox. And I know they're being more comic accurate right now. But also, devil horns.
Yep.
Like, this dude is
Mephisto
Mephisto.
also has hair exactly like that.
Yep.
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 So,
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah, he's a character to watch out for. And then jumping from one mysterious character to another mysterious character, Hayward is also doubling down and being a jerk.
Yeah.
To
a big
to the,
jerk
to
face.
the team.
And of course, the team would then be Jimmy Woo, Monica, and Darcy.
Yeah. He kicks him out.
Which work together really well the more of the show I'm watching. Like, they're all minus Monica kind of goofy. Like, Jimmy Woo and Darcy are both kind of goofy. And I know, like, she was misused a lot in the Thor movies, where, like, that was a big detriment. She was almost like the Jar Jar, you put the comic relief character in, but then you put him in too much and give him too many goofy one-liners, and people just get annoyed with this character.
Yeah.
But they both were handled really well in this. So I just wanted to say that, because if you're someone who hasn't completely kept up with Marvel stuff, and you just saw, like the older ones, you saw Thor, and you saw Thor 2, and you were turned off by it, and you want to watch WandaVision, you're like, oh, this chick's in here? Like, oh, man, like, it was so annoying in Thor. Completely different vibe, completely different shtick.
And she's not. It's a side character. It's a bit part. It's not like taking up the whole show.
Yeah. But sorry about that. Back to Hayward. I just wanted to fill people in on the team dynamic a little bit.
But yeah, no. He basically, after his mistake, he's clearly the one that messed up. And he kicks him out. He says, "Get rid of him, like take him away, because he doesn't fit they don't fit his agenda," and just kind of puts another nail in the coffin of like, I don't trust this dude. I don't know. We've mentioned in the past that he might be a Skrull, or Hydra or something, and I don't trust him.
Quick question for you. So, you said after his mistake, and I'm assuming you're talking about the moment at the Bader, where
the moment
he tried to shoot that missile at Wanda, and then all the guns turned on him when she came out.
Yep.
And now the force field around Westview, the hexagon, is all red and stuff instead of regular. It's like agitated, which I think shows her mental state is more agitated.
Definitely.
But what if he didn't mess up? What if he wanted to agitate Wanda so he could have a villain to point to?
No, yeah, for sure.
What if the plan was never... What if it was twofold? What if it was, okay, if this missile is able to take her out, awesome. But if it doesn't, then she's going to confront us, and there goes let's try and communicate. Let's just watch them and see what happens.
Yep.
If you have something to hide, and you're trying to use this for your own game, maybe you don't want us to watch them and see what happens.
Right. And
but
you want the blame to be on somebody else and the focus to be on somebody else. You're totally right.
But yeah, so Hayward kicks our crew out. They clearly just beat up some FBI agents and steal their gear so they can get back in and see what's going on. We learn Hayward is tracking Vision by tracking the decay signal of the vibranium. For those of you who don't know, when you have a radioactive substance, there's this whole half-life decay, and every single substance that's radioactive, like carbon-14, have different half-life decay rates. So you are able to use that somehow. I'm not too well versed in the sciences, but you're able to look at that decay rate and find a certain substance. So with that said, that's how he's tracking Vision. He's got the half-life decay rate of vibranium, and he's tracking that. And Vision, man.
Vision's quest is to find out what's going on.
Yeah, and
in this bubble, and he finds out.
So, you said this other questionable, what was it, questionable character or whatever when you were talking about Hayward.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I didn't think you were talking about Hayward because I was too focused on someone else, which would be Agnes.
Yeah. So Vision sees some stuff going on with people. People are acting weird. Basically, when it looks like when people in this town are around Wanda, she can control them fully. But the further away you get from Wanda, the more these people don't move. You know, like we see these people and they're not moving and they're not doing anything. And it's because her focus isn't on these people to make them do anything.
Yeah, it's like Vision lied to her and said he was going to the Halloween party as neighborhood watch. Like, he wasn't going to the party, but he was going to be, you know, that's where the neighborhood watches. That's the neighborhood.
Kind of also isn't necessarily a lie, because he is investigating what's happening in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah.
And it's one of these things where, because of that, you know, she has a general idea of where she is, or at least she thinks she does. So that's what her focus is on. So I don't know. My assumption was it had to do with the direct vicinity to Wanda, how close you are to her. Mm-hmm. But it also could just be her focus. She thought Vision was in that area.
Right.
That's the area she's focusing on.
Yes.
I don't know how it works. I'm going to assume it's just a direct vicinity to her. But regardless, Vision's investigating, guys.
Yeah. He sees some weird stuff, so he flies up, and he sees a car that's parked at a stop sign but isn't moving. So he goes to investigate, and we find out that who is in this car?
Agnes is in this car.
Which is super interesting.
Because this car is right at the border of Westview. It's at the border of the Hex. Like, it is at this force field. Why is Agnes there? And she's facing there like she wants to leave, you know? Like, why is Agnes all the way over there when she's normally around? Every time information is fed to So I guess you could say the state of Westview falling apart has to do with Vision getting information. The more information Vision knows, the harder it is for Wanda to hold things together.
Yep, that's what it seems like.
And every single time Vision has gotten information, except for the message that they sent from outside of Westview, all of his information has always come from Agnes. She just happens to be there to feed him info. She happens to be there when Wanda's pregnant and she's there with Herb. You know, she's the one who tells him about Monica not having a house.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you know, here at the border, the furthest we have been away from Westview, inside of Westview, once again is Agnes just sitting there. So Vision asks her what's going on, but she can't really talk or move, so he does the thing where he touches your head, and then like he uses his Mind Stone powers, which is so interesting, but he uses his Mind Stone powers to alter your consciousness and free you from Wanda's thing. And Agnes is freaking out, and she's like, "Am I dead?" And Vision's like, "No, you're not dead. Why?" And she goes, "Because you are."
Right. This is he learns that he's dead.
And Agnes goes absolutely ballistic. She loses it.
This is a Vision who doesn't remember the Avengers.
Yep.
Has no memory of what happened in his past.
Doesn't remember his previous life at all before Westview.
Right.
And so she brings up the Avengers and stuff, but she goes ballistic and she loses it. And the thing is, Vision then touches her head again and calms her down after telling her he's going to fix it. And she just turns around and drives back into town being her normal, like, "Oh, hello, neighbor, blah, 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 I'm goofy and spunky." I don't buy it. I think that was fake. I don't think Vision did alter her consciousness, because I think she's a witch and his powers don't necessarily work on her. I think she was playing him the whole time.
Yeah.
She went to the border to draw him there, to Ellis Avenue, which is where Wanda told the kids to stay away from.
Mm-hmm.
And she went there to draw him there. And it worked. And then she fed him information away from Wanda once again. And that is when he tried to escape. And oh my gosh, man.
This was brutal. For a Disney Plus show, this was intense. This was wild. I mean, like, and they, you know, like he's the force field is like ripping him apart.
He gets mostly out, but it's sucking parts of him back in because it's an illusion.
Yeah.
Like all of the vibrant red skin and all this stuff, like we've seen what he really looks like from Wanda after she had the children.
Right.
And that's basically what he's returning to. He is falling to the ground and just being pulled to pieces. And I feel like he is a messiah figure in this show. I think he has a lot of parallels to how they're writing him, has a lot of parallels to Jesus, which I think is intentional because you have then Mephisto, who is literally the devil.
Right.
So I think that you have those parallels there. But if you read the Bible, when Jesus is hanging on the cross, instead of asking for himself to be saved, he says, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." And he's asking for forgiveness for the people who are hurting him. And Vision is being torn to pieces as the illusion of him is fading, and it's just his returning to his regular vibranium self.
Right.
This robot body that's just a hollow shell. And he's looking at the people from Sword and reaching out to them. And these are people who have attacked Wanda, and he might not know that, but as he's being torn to pieces, he's saying, you have to help them. They need help. At first, we think he's saying help for himself, because first he just says help.
Yeah.
And then he says, they need help.
Yes. And
what a selfless and heavy moment, man.
And in a mature moment for Billy, Billy's powers manifest, and he hears Vision, and then he tells Wanda. Also, real quick, Pietro and Wanda are sitting down, and they kind of talk about their past, and they're there's a little bit of an exchange of like, how do you look different, and it seems like neither one of them have the answer for that, because he just mentions, he's like, oh, I heard you calling to me, and then that's why I came here, because I heard you calling for me.
What's interesting is Pedro he's never confused, though. You'd think if you had the answer, if you didn't know, you'd be confused. Yeah, he always has an answer for her. Yeah, it's always one that works with the world. It's hey,
how are you? And he's
how am I here? Yeah. Well, how are you here?
How are you?
He always deflects.
Yep, he's playing her for sure. And also too, in the comics, Mephisto wants her powers, like wants the kids, but also like wants like her hex powers or something. Wants to figure out how she's doing things, and he specifically asks her in this episode
3 times, I think.
Yeah, like he doesn't let it go. He's like, how did you do this? And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, how did you do this? And then she's like, you don't think it's bad? And he's like, no, I don't think and any like Vision doesn't think this is the right thing to do. All these people are suffering, and like he's the only person in this show that's like, yeah, no big deal. Keep torturing these people. That doesn't sound like a very hero thing to say,
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I do want to point out one other thing about that, which is she sees, he brings up a memory of their past, and it's different from how she remembers it. Like, it's when they were trick-or-treating when they were little, and she's like, wait, like, he suggests it. Oh, that is our timer. Okay, Google, stop the clock. That means we have 4 minutes left, so we will wrap up. So I'll finish this thought and then see what else Tyler has to say before we wrap up. But he suggests all this stuff, you know, like he's like, no, I think you're just misremembering. He's always just suggesting things. And if he were to be Mephisto and know what's going on and have a glimpse into this world, then he would know the moment where her powers slipped for a second, or not her powers, but her state of illusion slipped for a minute, and she saw Vision for what he was,
right? Which
is this destroyed robot with like part of its head missing. And I think because then she sees the 3 bullet holes on him, and he's like, "Are you okay?"
He did mention.
I think he did that on purpose. I don't think that was reality. I don't think that this is Petro. I think he let it slip so she could see him riddled with holes.
Right. Well, and he did mention that Vision had died in the past.
Yep.
He made that comment about, oh, your husband can't die 3 times or whatever, and then she got mad.
And I guess that brings us to the end of the episode, which we should mention.
Yes.
So, as Vision is falling apart, and he is told by, it's Tommy, right? Billy.
Yep.
Billy has it right. And he's told by, Billy tells Wanda, Dad needs help, and he locks into where he is outside of Westview, and he sees the soldiers. Wanda's eyes glow like when she has her powers, and she goes, whoosh. In Westview, the hex expands by a ton, taking out all the sword agents besides Hayward, changing them into like clowns and other Westview people, until it is so much bigger. But the thing is, Vision already, why did he become suspicious? Because she couldn't maintain her powers at that distance. Like Westview was already too big for her to have full control.
Right.
And so now, because of Petro getting Vision out of there, sending Agnes, because of Mephisto's, this is what we believe, because of Mephisto, purposely separating her from Vision, sending Agnes to the border to get Vision to go outside so she could expand this thing. Because that's a twofold thing. One, her powers, she barely had control the first time with this half the size Westview. Well, now she's gonna be stretched real thin.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's his goal.
As Tyler mentioned in his What's Up with the Hexagons videos, I forget the title, but in other MCU properties like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, hexagons are seen as what you use to jump between dimensions in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
If he is this giant force, I think about Dormammu in the comics and the cartoons, always trying to get into our dimension, always trying to get in and take over. If Mephisto is a force similar to Dormammu, and this hexagon is a gateway between dimensions and whatnot, and that's how she's affecting reality because she's pulling things in from another dimension, then the doorway to our mainland MCU dimension just got busted a whole lot wider open.
Yeah.
And that is all I have to say about that.
And yeah, I think that's part of Mephisto's plan is to stretch her thin, and also, again, I think building the kids. He's spending a lot of time with the kids to get the kids comfortable with him. Oh, before we go, you mentioned the thing you think that's going to happen, the trade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't think Vision's gone.
We'll end on this.
Yeah, I don't think Vision's gone. One, the show's called WandaVision, which is super cool because the first half of the show seemed like it was more Wanda's perspective, and now we're getting into Vision's perspective. Mm-hmm. I like that. But I can't see Disney investing so much money in this show just to further the general plot of the MCU. You want to further your characters. And I believe that eventually, whether it's Multiverse of Madness, whether it's in Spider-Man, whether it's somewhere after that, Wanda's going to make a deal with Mephisto. he's going to get the kids, and she might not know that's what the deal is, but he's going to get the kids. In exchange, Vision will be brought back to life. And he might hate her for that. You sacrificed our children. Well, I didn't know that's what was going to happen. And I think ultimately they referred to her having nightmares. They called Westview a nightmare. In this episode, they said it twice. There's high expectancy that Nightmare is going to be the villain of Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's Wanda. I think just like Clint Barton's Hawkeye became Ronin, I think Wanda Maximoff's character is going to become Nightmare. They have yet to call her Scarlet Witch.
Yes.
I think that's the redemption at the end of Doctor Strange, too. I think he brings her back, and she is no longer the Nightmare, and now she is Scarlet Witch.
That makes
a hero.
That makes total sense, and that seems... I mean, that'd be a fun arc.
They went out of their way to say she has no alias, which is also going out of their way to say she doesn't have an identity.
Definitely.
She can be this or that.
I want to talk about art. Maybe we'll do it at the... Maybe at the end of the series or whatever, but I definitely want to dive more into arcs, character arcs, and what character arcs are for our viewers and people who may not know. And I think what you just said is going to be a great example that'll span Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange, and the redemption arc for her totally, I think, is the way to go. But yeah.
Man, I'm getting chills, dude. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, I love this episode. It's going in the way that we're predicting, but it's also doing things that we're not predicting, which is cool.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, I would definitely recommend the show to anybody. If you've stuck around this long, thank you.
Anybody. Even if you've never seen a Marvel thing, because you can relate to Vision. Vision's never seen a Marvel property. He doesn't know who Tony Stark is or Captain America or any superheroes. So, I think this is a great show for anyone. You just got to stick around for 2 or 3 episodes, and then your confusion will start to clear up. And you will be right where Vision is, following along. With that said, guys, thank you so much for joining us. And also, okay, I was just like, let me make sure we're both on camera. And also, if you haven't liked this video, be sure to drop a like. It really helps the channel grow. It really helps get more eyes on this video. And also, too, it boosts our egos, and we have self-confidence issues. No, I'm kidding. But feel free to subscribe. Ring the bell if you want. I always forget to say that one. Tyler was like, oh yeah, the bell thing the other day. And I was like, oh yeah, that exists. If you want to talk with us about WandaVision, come into the Discord and chat with us. It is, once again, if you were watching the premiere, being spammed in the comments by Stream Elements. It's also in the description below if you're just watching this video. Mm-hmm. Discord's a great place. And... whew, man, I can't keep my thoughts straight. I'm just so jazzed from WandaVision
Here
right
we go,
now.
episode 7. Let's get ready.
All right, guys, but I believe that is it for today. Stay awesome.
Thank you. Stay awesome.